Hello, I wanted today to talk about vLLM and inferencing software for LLMs. So vLLM is a program that lets you run large language models on a device. It is very good, it's very fast. A lot of you might be already familiar with LM Studio. LM Studio is a very convenient way for you to get into running local LLMs. I would say it's probably the best way to get started. It's going to teach you the most off the bat. But once you're good and you've learned a lot, next thing you need to do is get better at the speed. And so to get better speeds, to be able to use this software on larger projects, you need to use vLLM or SGLang. So what is a model? I think this is a very important question. A model is a collection of safe tensor files. Each file is just a collection of numbers. Those numbers are weights, and they were learned at training time. You can also see here that there's also configuration templates and different configuration files, but they're tiny compared to the safe tensor files. This is the weights. Now, what vLLM does is it will take this model, which is a folder with a bunch of large files, load those onto GPU, and then set up a server for you so that you can do chat completions. You can send messages to the LLM, and then the LLM will respond back. So that's what vLLM does. It sits between you and the hardware, and it allows you to load models onto GPU and start interacting with it. Now, once you have that set up, you have a bunch of different chat templates. And each chat template is essentially how the model was trained to respond to messages or to inputs. So you can see here that Minimax uses this basic tool call function. And each one is slightly different. Each model is slightly different. So vLLM just uses tool call, Minimax uses minimax.tool call, and yeah, there's a whole bunch of different ones as well. And so part of the inferencing layer is getting vLLM set up, getting the right chat templates, and then having the right parsers. So parsers is a model will output things like think blocks, and then these think blocks. Let's open up vLLM Studio. So the model will output stuff like this. But in the UI, you don't see it like that. You see it like something more like this, right? So you have these parsers that sit between the model and the user, and they take what the model is saying, translate it into a more human-readable form, and vice versa. So now that we have that, we can start communicating with the model. So here you can see I have GLM 4.7 read. So this is a model that's been pruned by 40% and then quantized to 4 bits on average. Now, once I have that ready, I can basically say, hello, can you please research vLLM and output a markdown artifact report with all that you find. So once I send this message will then go to the intermediate server that will send it over to vLLM. vLLM will then parse essentially what the model is saying, and then send it back to me. And then I know this is my XAPI key. XAPI key is not configured right now, so it's just going to do some fetching. But you can see here that this is what it's doing. So it reads the prompt, and then it thinks, and then it does a tool call. Thinks, does a tool call, thinks, does a tool call, and we are enabling it to do that via our APIs that we will write. So I recommend trying out vLLM Studio. It's not really ready, but if you know how to use like Cloud Code or whatever, you can probably get it set up. And this will work with any model, no matter how small it is. Once you have that set up, now all you have to do is take your API key and the URL, or like the port, essentially, let's say it's on port 1234, you take those and you go and configure them in various software. So right now we have OpenCode, and in OpenCode you can see here, I have my GLM 4.7 on the HomeLab AI API, which is essentially what we were just looking at with vLLM Studio. I want you to heavily improve terminal, OS, add one big feature, go all out. So now what is happening is I've configured OpenCode to point to my URL and to communicate with my model. And you can see now that the thinking output that the model is giving us is rendering think blocks, it's doing tool calls, it's trying to read files, and then it's going to be able to edit files. And all of this is happening while this is also happening, which is pretty cool, I'd say. So it gave me my report, it gave me all the links and sources, and then it did a citation, and it's pretty interesting. And you can see I have a lot of chats here, and I've used it in a lot of different applications. Now, in order to get good results, you need to learn how to tweak stuff a lot. Once I got it running, it wasn't working from the start. Like, it took a lot of going back and forth and then getting settings right and then figuring out what the right parsers are. But if you can understand all of the individual pieces that go into the inferencing layer, then you can start experimenting with different models. So you have models like Nematron, which I would say is excellent. I once ran a benchmark on this accidentally because I was just benchmarking everything that was free on Open Router. And this one was like near the top of my list for all the things that I benchmarked for. It is an excellent tool. NVIDIA and Nematron, so it is, 37, and it didn't get much attention. It's 8 billion parameters, so technically with 8 gigabytes of VRAM, that's not much. You can get a very good model that will run in Claude Code. Now, let us take a look at this. I'm going to put it here. I have been doing this for a while, so I have Claude local. It's going to load. Okay, yeah, he's not set. I don't know if it's going to work right now, but I'll try. Yeah, I don't think it's going to work. But I have Claude Code set up in my local models, so it's not ready. Yeah, I did something wrong here. I've been messing with it lately. However, maybe this will work. Okay. Model. Let's say model. Yeah, this is going to be old. I've been using OpenCode more than anything else, so we can look at Droid since it's good. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Any one of these harnesses, any one of these tools that you might like, you can actually just run local models with. So if I go here, you can see my home lab, and I have GL4.7, and I can say hi. And while it's doing this, it's also responding here and in my UI, and it's doing everything. So this is the power of running your own models. And you can think, like, what do you want to use these for? So you can take everything that you've ever written, vectorize it, all of your tweets, download all of your content, get it set up. It's working at the same time. And you can turn it into a RAG, and then you can talk to your RAG. I've already done that, and I have that running. I'm not going to do it like on screen right now. But you can see, you can think like, what could this possibly expand to? So I have this is good. I want to do Azul. So I've built this into all types of tools and things that I would use pretty heavily. 1 second. So I want to show an example here. And we could do this. And we could say, hi, I want you to research. So this is not considered to be scraping, actually, because it's essentially a bot that's running software and like interacting, but I don't think it's considered scraping. So you can see here it's starting to like research me, and then it's going to do some tool calls, and then like do some Google searches, and create a report and provide that back to me. And this is running on device, so I can have this interact with my local banking apps, install my banking information. I could use this to research people, research things. I could use this as a recommendation algorithm, which I already do. Like I get my music from this. I have a bug here, but this is also open source on GitHub. So I do recommend people get into using this stuff and then go deeper in as you learn more. I think a good start is either using Claude Code, even if it's just in the desktop app. If you already do that, then try to experiment with local models, and then try to experiment with like hacking your harnesses, and eventually you'll be able to do amazing things. Okay, this is strange. I don't know why that's. I see. But hopefully this was helpful. It gives you an idea of like what I am using my compute for, and I will see you in the next one tomorrow.